Oh, yeah. What up, y'all? It's your boy, the one and only A Switch, aka the 30-time social distancing champion, aka the Cinnamon Toast Crunch champion, aka let me lick your chin, though. Bringing you yet another episode of Switches Sites. In particular, or to be exact, episode 52. Switches Sites podcast is a podcast based on video games and somewhat related stuff related to video games mainly. So yeah. Today's date is April 23rd, 2020. We still locked up. People still going out when they shouldn't, but hey, that is what it is. It's a joke I saw on Twitter, like natural selection is is gonna take place at some extent, and pretty much yeah, I, as much as even the governments are saying now, yeah, it's not a good idea. I'm just saying. But that's neither here nor there. Kinda is there. Maybe not a here, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. So without further ado, let's stop the dilly-dallying and get right into it. So first, probably biggest news story this week. Apparently, the Xbox Series X, or Xbox codename Lockhart, which is basically the lower tier Xbox, basically behind the superior Series X, which is basically a cheaper option for the consumer to still be in next gen Xbox family, but not with a lesser, fuller wallet, if you will. So apparently the rumors of that being a thing are somewhat valid, at least from some rumors, according to WindowsCentral.com, in particular, that the Xbox Series S is exactly on its way. So looks like the rumors are validating, and at least there was a mock-up in terms of what it would look like, the Series S. So basically, at least from, this is a concept at least, but doesn't seem too far off of what maybe possibly potentially the actual form factor of the console may look like. So basically it looks just like the Series X, but just way shorter. Well, basically if you just cut the Series X in half, you'd have the Series S, which that seems pretty likely, at least especially looking at the videos from Digital Foundry and some of the other big YouTubers that went to I think the one Xbox event like a couple weeks ago. It doesn't seem too far-fetched that this form factor would be realistic, because at least according to all the parts and components, it seems like they could make it work. So but yeah, it still has the top oscillating fan for the Series X. Obviously is not really known in terms of the components in the back or whatever, but I wouldn't be surprised if it looks just very closely similar to the Series X, but just cut in half, which would be cool. And at least a good option for people that maybe aren't the enthusiasts that want to get the best of the best, the top of the crop. Is that a term? I don't know. So yeah. Then on top of that, there's a couple of components. Apparently there's going to be a new headset with the Xbox Series X. I guess kind of like Microsoft's answer to the Sony PlayStation, I think, Gold wireless headsets, where they're somewhat proprietary headsets for the consoles. So that'd be cool for people that want that. I don't see myself using it unless it's really some really like detrimental exclusive feature that isn't anywhere else. I'll stick with my headsets. Thank you very much. Especially considering that they did say that they are supporting transitioning folks that do have headsets for the series, the Xbox One X or S, to the Series X family or Series family. So that's cool. Even on top of that, apparently, it's been somewhat leaked that there may potentially be a press release for more than likely a Xbox showcase where they actually might be showing some of the games for the Series family, Xbox Series family. Probably what's going to be called now, especially if the Series S and X are true. Yeah, man, that's just going to be so weird in terminology. Like, oh, you want the Series X? No, I meant Series S. You said Series X or S? Yeah. No. For specifically for the people that aren't hip or aware of kind of the knowledge of the Series X and just the devices itself, it just for Jenny, who's son Bobby at home wants a Xbox Series X for Christmas. I could see it. I could see the confusion. Oh yeah, I got you a Series X. No, Mom, I wanted the Series X. Ugh, worst Christmas ever. Probably 10%, 10-15%, maybe higher of disappointed children getting the S instead of the X. Hey, all right. Try that in the black household. hey, I got you a Series X, so I don't know what to tell you. All right, you better stop complaining. I'll give you something to complain about. All right, calm your ass down. You got a console. Be grateful. Okay, something like that. I don't know. Yeah. So that'll be pretty cool. If this press event is in May. Also, I think Phil Spencer hinted at it on his Twitter specifically. Let's take a look. P3. Let's look up. Because it's hard to make it out in this mess. He said something specifically that hinted towards he said something on his tweet like, yeah, you're gonna hear something real soon in terms of our video games or whatever. Games to come on the Series X. So take that for what you will. Obviously, it's probably somewhat solidifying the rumors in regards to that. So overall, cool. It'd be kind of weird to announce the Series S and then have the Series X still, but I mean, hey, they might have something in mind that we don't that might make it work. Probably one hot take or prediction. I'm guessing that maybe you could still, well, no, that's kind of redundant because they did say that they are releasing at least Xbox exclusives. They are still going to release on the Xbox One X as well for at least maybe the next 2 years or so. So that kind of just threw my whole theory out the window. Basically, it's somewhat semi-confirmed. That was what I was guessing that they would support it, but they technically already said that. So either way, cool stuff. If true, obviously take it with a rumor grain of salt. So next topic of discussion. Apparently there's a rumor going around that Call of Duty 2020 will technically be tied to Black Ops, but won't necessarily be named Black Ops, or will have a new name specifically. So I'm not quite sure. Obviously, again, take it with a grain of salt, but it seems like it may be put in the Cold War era, which I guess kind of Black Ops did do. It kind of jumped in a lot of time periods, to be honest, but it did mainly focus in the 60s, 70s ish period era. So that would still kind of line up, depending on the storyline for this game. And apparently it does tie in with Black Ops, the Black Ops universe. But I'm just curious how specifically. Yeah, I can't really see it. Maybe it's just one character that maybe just ties in and it's still in Cold War or something. Yeah, it's hard to fathom, but I don't know. I'm starting to lean like this may not necessarily be valid, but if anything, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense for them to ignore the Black Ops name, since it's so like established and reputable amongst the game, the Call of Duty fans especially. I mean, if you say the highly regarded Call of Duty games, is definitely Modern Warfare, and then I'd say, at least personally, right behind it would be Black Ops in terms of just my favorite Call of Duty series as a whole. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like if anything, if this maybe is halfway true, maybe it's like Black Ops some subtitle, and maybe they're dropping the numbered convention, or maybe something new title, Call of Duty something new title, Black Ops or something like that. But I guess that still would technically be Black Ops, but it'd be like Call of Duty Booty Bandit Booty Bandits Black Ops or something like that. I don't know. I don't know, just to ditch the name completely, I find that hard to believe, especially a series that's been so established. I don't think that's gonna happen, but I mean, I guess it could. But I mean, let's think of all the original Call of Duties. I guess there haven't really been that many outside of what, Infinite Warfare, Ghosts, World War II, I guess. If that's kind of maybe in iffy territory where it might not necessarily be where it's kind of like tying to the classic Call of Duty where it was in World War II, but still Advanced Warfare. Yeah. Yeah, but if the past any indication, it might be Call of Duty something Warfare, if anything. Yeah, I don't know. I think they're still gonna stick with Black Ops, but could totally be wrong. But maybe it's just they're trying to go new and fresh and maybe rip themselves from the ties of Black Ops, but they say it's still in the Black Ops universe. So I guess we'll have to see. But I was pretty thought provoking either way, in terms of maybe what potentially may happen. But obviously, we're gonna find out in the next coming months, since that's generally when they announce when it's gonna come out anyway. So, next topic of discussion, boy, this is came out of nowhere today, to be exact. So in terms of Tekken 7, specifically in terms of the character pack or season pass, I think we're on season 3 of the season pass for Tekken 7. So the last character came out, like, man, I think it was like almost a month ago, 2-3 weeks ago. Fakum Ram, who's basically, he, at least what he seems like, I haven't played with him yet, straight up Bruce Irvin clone, with, you know, obviously some modifications there, but you could definitely tell that that's where they had like a reference point, at least, to kind of deviate off of. But yeah, but if you actually go to their site, there's a new character, or a very basically unknown character on their site, and it's the 50th character in the game, which is crazy. I didn't even know. I guess putting in perspective that's in total how many characters we do have so far in Tekken 7, but there's a 50th character who's unknown, and their silhouette looks somewhat distinct. Like you can make something out of it. It doesn't look like a typical, like, cookie cutter generic photo. It's a silhouette of, it seems like somebody established already. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of room for, speculation, at least. But man, if I had to use any close relation or kind of speculation in terms of narrowing things down, I mean, it's hard to ignore that does look somewhat pretty close to Kiryu from Yakuza. I mean, the collar is distinct. You can see his collar, which is basically part of his iconic suit. He looks like more so Yakuza 0 Kiryu, who's much younger. Because I guess the neck is really throwing me off, because he has a long ass neck, and I'm not sure who the hell that is. But if anybody, it looks very, very close to Kiryu. Maybe with just some slight modifications, or maybe it actually, now that I'm thinking about it, it looks like Kid Kiryu that we saw in I think Kiwami 2. He might have been in the other Yakuzas, but in terms of just his model, boy, I mean, I still wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, hey, we still got Kiryu, but I mean, like, Kid Kiryu, well, why? But yeah, I can't think of anybody remotely close. But I mean, considering Harada and his previous history in terms of like characters he has in the game already, boy, it's like everything is off the table at this point when you think about it. I mean, we have freaking Negan from The Walking Dead, which nobody would have ever guessed. So I mean, considering how far he can go, I don't know. It could be anybody at this point. I obviously, hopefully, am rooting for Kiryu, but it's interesting too. Like, I guess if you do some digging on the site, in terms of some reverse engineering of the webpage, the page or the picture itself is named suspends.png. So that's at least adding to the fact that, hey, it's got to be somebody. It's not just like, oh my bad, I just mistakenly had this character on our Tekken site who's coincidentally the 50th character. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know who it could be. Yeah, it looks a lot like Kiryu, though. If anybody that it looks closest to, it for sure is Kiryu, definitely. It's not like 1-to-1, at least like, his iconic poses and like, photography, if you will, but it looks the closest to him out of anybody. And obviously, we have been very vocal about having Kiryu in Tekken, because I mean, Jesus, I mean, I've preached about it before, but Jesus, he's like freaking made for Tekken. Of all games, fighting games specifically. Of course, I wouldn't mind him in Smash as well, but if I had to choose, he's definitely like Tekken material, hands down. But God, the silhouette looks very, very like Kiryu. Harada, don't play with our emotions like that. I'm just letting you know right now, personally. Don't you play with me. Don't you play with me and actually follow through and release Kiryu as the 50th or maybe potentially last character for Tekken 7. Don't you dare do it, Harada. I will lick you right now. I mean, I don't know where you're at, but hey, if I see you in person, well, you all right? Let me take that back. I mean, social distancing, COVID-19. All right, social distance champion. I have to maintain that throne. So yeah, never mind, Harada. But I give you a rain check though. I'll lick your face. In a more less pandemic, a less pandemic time period. Then when everything's safe said and done, then hey, if you want it still, I'll lick you. I mean, in the face, not the. I hope I just park myself in this corner that I can't get out of. But hey, all right, Kiryu, Kiryu for Tekken, for sure. I will come back to Tekken and play with reckless abandon if Kiryu comes into Tekken or is found to be the DLC character. Boy, that'd be a dream. That'd be a great light in this darkness of the current times we're in right now. Yeah, man. Harada, you got to give the man credit. He is good, so good with playing with people in terms of just anticipation, suspense, all of the above. So, prayers, thoughts for Kiryu for Tekken 7. So yeah, might be a free character because obviously he wasn't included or listed in the Tekken 3 pass. It's funny, I never even thought about like how many characters, Tekken characters there were in total, but it seems to line up. So, yeah, boy, yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, and then talk about it being season 4 related. That doesn't seem to line up. Yeah, it definitely seems like a free character. Oh man, yes. I just totally just started dawning on me too now, because the one concern I did have about the validity of Kiryu being in Tekken as a guest character or whatever is that he's not represented on the Xbox, or no games. Yakuza games are on the Xbox, which is totally non-valid now because Zero came out like the past month, and now Kiwami, which is the remake of Yakuza 1, is now just came out on Game Pass this week as well. The stars are aligning. The stars are aligning. Do you hear me? The stars are aligning. Kiryu is on PC. He is on PS4, obviously, and he's now on Xbox. It's coming together, guys. The dream, the aspirations of Kiryu, one of the best characters that maybe you shouldn't like, I guess, to some extent, but you do, and you should, is coming to Tekken 7. The hints, the breadcrumbs are there. Okay, so now Kiryu has no reason not to be in Tekken now. All right, you got this silhouette that looks pretty close to Kiryu. All right, you got, okay, let's just recap real quick. Just got to get this out there. All right, you got PS4. Okay, Yakuza's home, Kiryu's home, but you know what? He's like, hey, let me go to PC real quick. Let me talk to these people. Talk to them. Graphics are great, wonderful. PC Master Race. Oh my God, we love Kiryu. All right, now we got Xbox. Okay, Xbox fans been thirsty, been deprived of Yakuza and the Kiryu action. But have no fear, Kiryu is here. Xbox One, Yakuza is here. Okay, with more to come still. It lines up so well. Man, it hurts. All right, this might hurt a little bit more than the other ones. Like, okay, we got the season 3, announcement and no Kiryu, and nothing, no hints, no at least straight up guest character, which is fine. But it's like, Tekken Harada kind of set that precedent by adding a lot of these various guest characters: Akuma, Geese, Noctis, and was there somebody else? Negan. How could I forget? So, I really want this one to be true. Just this 50th character. Kiryu. It needs to happen. Just for just for the gaming as a whole, for Ryuga Gotoku Studios and Namco Bandai Namco to just have this moment. And you know what would even be doper? Well, I guess it wouldn't happen in Yakuza 7. Oh boy, that's a boy. I mean, I could just do like 50 degrees of Kevin Bacon right now with Tekken and Yakuza, but I won't. I'll just give you this tidbit. I'll just say it right now. I mean, Tekken 7, Yakuza 7, about to come out. Well, technically came out in Japan. Yet to be determined to come out in the U.S. I mean, come on now, okay? All right, all platforms. Okay. Ugh. I'm gonna be hurt this time. I really am. Just do it, Harada, please, Harada. Okay. Enough gushing on Kiryu's my immense desire for Kiryu to be in Tekken, as well as other people. All right, it's just not it's not this echo chamber. It's a lot of others that would want him. Okay, just saying. Okay, so I think it's about that time for those NBDs. I meant to say NPD. For March 2020. So I think, considering just the immense grasp that this game has, I don't think it's no surprise to anybody how much has been dominating, and that game is in fact Animal Crossing New Horizons. You can't go on Twitter without seeing any related tweet and or meme associating with this game, which is valid. A lot of it is funny. I'm gonna eventually get it at some point. But man, came out of nowhere, came somewhat in a perfect time when you factor in a lot of dynamics and variables. But man, just like a perfect storm, perfect timing. Everybody's at home. People need something else to focus on, something light, lighthearted. Funhearted. Hey, you know what? Somebody probably does that. But yeah, let's just do a quick glance. At least some standout statistics. Shout outs to Matt Piscatella and the NPD group as well. But all in all, Matt Piscatella, who's just the great man of giving us all these juicy details. Cause man, I don't know, something very fascinating just to see, critical reception is one thing, but obviously just, at the end of the day, if it sells, that's ultimately the more important factor in some scenarios, which is unfortunate depending on, the situation. But either way, let's just dabble on some information. So particularly in the software category, Animal Crossing New Horizons, best-selling game of March 2020. Despite, and that's one thing I wasn't even aware of, despite the lack of digital tracking, specifically at least for Nintendo, it's still instantly the second best selling game of 2020. That's crazy. That is pretty crazy. Wow. Also, got to give some shout outs to Call of Duty Modern Warfare, number 2 best selling game, March 2020. and it's now the best-selling game of 2020 year to date. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, of course. I think we've touched on it a couple instances here as well, but hardware-wise, of course, the Nintendo Switch has been dominating as well. And I think one very interesting fact, too, is that basically, I think the Switch this year actually sold a ton more than the Switch when it initially released in 2017, which is crazy. But I mean, I guess is maybe I'm assuming it's more so the factor that, a lot of people at home, and which is kind of cool that people actually that maybe aren't gamers are starting to dabble in the games, which is always a beautiful thing I like to see. So that partially kind of makes sense as well. But I mean, at the same time, I'd say the Switch is hitting its stride in general. It's just banging out these hits, exclusive hits, mind you, as well. And obviously with the established library already, Legend of Zelda, Mario. I could keep going, but I can't. One, can't remember. Two, it's evident. Like pretty much, not really bad Nintendo games as necessarily came out that I can at least recall. Maybe Cookie Mama, but that's not even with Nintendo. But then I think that's actually somewhat good still too. So it's like you can't even lose with Nintendo. Just thinking of Nintendo as like Suge Knight. Hey, you want all the sales, all the mature content, and then you gonna go with PlayStation 4, Xbox. But if you want the real heart of games, you want to go with Nintendo. You want to go with Nintendo, right? And he just walk off the stage. Don't know where he's at though. But I digress. Of course, I think. I think overall too. Yeah, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One did grow by more than 25%, so that's pretty good too. But let's look at the real nitty gritty. The top 20 best selling games of March 2020. So, I believe this in particular includes physical and digital. It does. I feel like that's new because I know they said that they weren't able to factor in digital, but at least in this particular area aspect they are. So, number one, of course, Animal Crossing. Number two, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. 3, MLB The Show 20. Interested. Well, I guess that's not my area expertise, but I understand it. Number 4, Resident Evil 3. But I guess that's another thing too. I mean, obviously, the market is still kind of bare, and I guess it's interesting now, the current situation we're in, that just more people are at home now and don't have maybe necessarily anything to do, that they may be flocking towards like new games as well, or maybe people that just maybe didn't have the time to before and now have the time and maybe feel compelled, like, oh yeah, now I can divulge into some games. So Resident Evil 3 or 4, I am surprised but not surprised at the same time. But then it's like I feel like there's maybe some sort of bias variable that might be boosting these like stats up. If we weren't in a pandemic, I'm curious how these stats would kind of skew, if anything. Number 5, NBA 2K20. Number 6, Doom Eternal. Okay. 7, Persona 5 Royale. 8, Grand Theft Auto 5. This damn game. I respect it though. I really do. Number 9, Borderlands 3. Number 10, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 11, Neo 2. I'm actually surprised Neo 2 is up there. Considering, I guess, kind of, at least the impression I've got, I always got a Neo 2 as it's more of a niche game where, wouldn't necessarily appeal to a lot of folks, but apparently did enough to hit the top 20. It did come out last month. Yeah, last month before, I guess, everything happened. Number 12, Red Dead Redemption 2. 13, FIFA 20. 14, Smash Ultimate. 15, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX. Did that come? I guess that came out this month. Interested. When did this come out? I think it came out. I thought it came out last month, if anything. Let's do some quick fact checking. Pokemon Rescue Dungeon DX. Because I'm very curious. March 6th. Wow. I think I kind of remember it now. I think I just went over my head. Madden NFL 20, Just Dance 2020. I just found out, I think apparently this game is still being released on the Nintendo Wii. That is so damn surreal to me. Well, I guess they're still supporting the Wii, but I mean, hey, it's like, I think that with a lot of sports games too, like I know FIFA, I think, was still releasing like years after the PS3 was out, still on the PS2, which is just crazy to me. But I mean, hey, there's still people that's like, I'm fine with a PS2. I mean, I'm fine with the engine and everything. I don't really want to just play FIFA. I mean, hey, So, little interesting tidbit if you didn't know or weren't aware of that. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, number 18. I'm kind of surprised by that. I thought that would kind of fall off, but that kind of makes sense. Maybe they made it competitive price wise. Mortal Kombat 11. By the way, happy birthday, Mortal Kombat. I think it's a birthday today. I want to say, I believe. But happy birthday, Mortal Kombat. I mean, happy birthday. I didn't give you a present though, so number 20, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Remastered. I'm kind of surprised that didn't rank up higher out of all of these games. That's probably the one I'm surprised didn't rank up. But I mean, at the same time, it is technically limited. Where I know it's exclusive to PS3 until I believe April 30th, and that's when it comes out on PC and Xbox One. So I'm guessing maybe that might skew it a bit. Might probably bump it up for next month, if anything. So even though you can pre-order, but it's not really that much incentive to pre-order it. Other than like some in-game stuff for multiplayer for Modern Warfare. So, but let's check Xbox One specifically, the top 10. Modern Warfare number 1, Resident Evil 3 number 2, Doom Eternal number 3, NBA 2K20 number 4, Grand Theft Auto 5 at number 5, Madden NFL 20 at number 6, Red Dead Redemption 2 number 7. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order at number 8, FIFA 29, Minecraft Xbox One Edition 10. Nothing necessarily too surprising there. Yeah, seems pretty standard. For PS4 top 10, MLB The Show 20, Call of Duty Modern Warfare number 2. Persona 5 Royal number 3, Resident Evil 3 number 4, NBA 2K25, Neo 2 6, Doom Eternal 7, Grand Theft Auto 5 8, Modern Warfare 2 Remastered 9, FIFA 10, FIFA 20 at 10. Modern Warfare, I'm surprised. So that definitely says a lot of people pre-ordered the game to at least get it to the number 9 spot, even though it's not going to come out until then. But I think you can preload it, which I did because I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to play that again because that was great. Would have loved a multiplayer, but obviously for obvious reasons, that's maybe they're gonna hold it, maybe release it after Modern Warfare has reached its prime, but who knows? Moving on to the Switch. Number 1, Animal Crossing, of course. Number 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's pretty interesting. 3, Smash Ultimate. 4, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. 5, Just Dance 2020. 6, Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. 7, Super Mario Party. 8, Luigi's Mansion 3. 9, Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. 10, Pokemon Sword. Too bad, Pokemon Shield. Sorry. I'm very interested that Mario Kart 8 is still hitting up there. I guess maybe with the new everybody like buying the hell out of Switches, and they're in shortage as well. I think I know a lot of bundles include Mario Kart 8, or some particular bundles at least. So maybe that's a factor. I don't know. Top 10 selling games year to date as of March. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Animal Crossing, New Horizon. That's interesting. Selling games year to date. That's pretty interesting. 3, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. 4, NBA 2K25, MLB The Show 20. 6, Grand Theft Auto 5. 7, Resident Evil 3. 8, Madden NFL 20. 9, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 10, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Interesting. Nothing necessarily, that isn't too surprising. I guess probably the biggest one is Animal Crossing, New Horizon. I didn't know it was that high for top 10 best selling games of this year to date. Well, I mean, considering what we're 4 months in the new year, so I guess that's not as surprising now when I put that into perspective. So, cool stuff either way though. Love me some data, specifically for video games. Very fascinating stuff, if I do say so myself. Yeah. So I think that pretty much covers all the news I wanted to talk about. So let's get into to them games that at least I've been playing. Of course, I guess I took a bit of a break from Modern Warfare with Final Fantasy, but I did jump back a little bit into it this week so far. But that's pretty much it. I mean, Call of Duty. But specifically, Modern Warfare. I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's definitely what's still been taking up my life still. So, did I beat it by last episode? I think I did. So I'd say it's been a good amount of time. I think it's okay we get into some spoilers, because that's I feel like we need to dish out some of the spoils on Final Fantasy. Well, I mean, if it hasn't been spoiled already for a lot of people, but so I'll just preface this spoilers. Gonna talk about Final Fantasy VII, mainly the ending and maybe just all the stuff maybe relating to that. But yeah, you have been warned. Spoilers. Final Fantasy VII Remake. So boy, yeah, and I had a lot of time to sit on it. Like, I was somewhat sitting on it after last episode, but man, loved the ending to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Definitely, for somebody who hasn't played the original Final Fantasy VII, it will definitely go the fuck over your head for sure. Cause yeah, you will be confused. You will be confused as fuck for sure. yeah, you will be straight confused. But if you're for sure a fan and played, Final Fantasy VII before and all the related content as well, yeah, man, you got like a treat. You got cheesecake on top of ice cream, on top of cookies, on top of whipped cream, with a little bit of caramel on top. You got it all. Okay. Um, yeah, yeah. Just everything they did with it was just great. I felt. Initially, um, and I guess that's why I like this ended so much, is that it gave you a lot to think about and kind of speculate on, which I'm pretty sure that was their intention, just to give them a lot of breathing room and space and flexibility to do what they wanted. So I guess basically, yeah, because it's a lot to divulge, but at least I'll like somewhat break down the um my interpretation of anything. So yeah, it's like, where do I start? Um, because I'm trying to remember the ending actually, at least kind of in order specifically. So yeah, so pretty much toward the end, of course, you fight Sephiroth, which I was hoping so much you'd be able to do, and I'm so glad they did. I was like, you can't just be just getting dick teased this whole game of Sephiroth and not fight him, considering this is the remake as well. I'm like, they gotta put a fight in there somewhere, which I'm totally glad they did at the end, and the shit was so damn epic. It was great, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna play it again to kind of refresh my memory on how great that damn fight was. But yeah, man, that was a fantastic ass boss fight. It was so epic. Fucking Sephiroth fucking throwing meteors and shit like fucking end game or no, Infinity War. Oh man, it was like on some like total like world um world at risk, like planetary type shit, which man, that was just hitting on so many levels. It really was. God, just thinking about just the cinematography and just the integration of using all your characters, and oh, it was a good payoff. It really was, man. So pretty much after that fight, there was a lot of just vagueness, obscurity, anonymity in terms of Sephiroth and his intention in the game. But at least like kind of moving up to that, like in the Shinra building, you had at least what ended up paying off, which were these weird ghost things. Like initially, because I know at least when I initially was playing the game, I'm like, who the fuck are these people? I'm like, they are definitely not in the original game. And more and more as you play the game, you start finding out like kind of its intentions and the purpose of it even being there. Which boy, that is the most meta shit ever. After really thinking about it and dwelling on it and stuff, and kind of geeking out in forums and shit, and man, it was like they're basically basically fans of the game that want the game to be a 1-to-1 remake of the original. So basically, as you're playing the game, you start finding out that the game is actually the ghosts are basically trying to keep the characters and everybody on the same path as the original game in terms of particular plot points and just the basic story of the original game, Final Fantasy VII. And basically there's some deviations from that, and a lot of actions that the ghosts or whispers are taking to try to not have you stay off the course of the original Final Fantasy game timeline, in terms of the crucial events, if anything. So that kind of comes to like pretty much a harsh reality when out of nowhere freaking Sephiroth just slashed, stabbed Barrett of all people. Like, oh no, they did not. They did not just kill. No, they didn't. No, they did not. Don't you dare tell me they killed Barrett. So, he got his ass slashed, stabbed. So now I'm like, oh, is he dead really? I don't know. It didn't seem too graphic. I don't know. He might be able to he might be able to get up. He got stabbed in the heart with like what, a 50-inch sword, but I mean, hey, he might be okay. So then you had a cool boss fight with Genova, or like some new form of Genova, I think, or whatever. And basically you beat her ass, obviously. And then after that, I guess the Whisper, one of them in particular, actually managed to bring Barrett back to life, which I'm just kind of curious how that actually works. But either way, I was like, all right, hey, Barrett's back, so I'm cool with it. So then that's where like I did start to think like, wait a minute, so yeah, because like Barrett didn't die in the original game, so maybe, yeah. So then that's when it started clicking that, yeah, okay, so these Ghost's intention were basically to keep the timeline of Final Fantasy VII intact. And that's pretty much comes to full force towards the end of the game, where you fight this harbinger of fate, I believe, where it's basically the amalgamation of all fans that want Final Fantasy to be 1-to-1 of the original. So you basically beat the shit out of that, and then basically now that that's gone, technically the ending insinuates that with the next iteration that they can go potentially even more off the cuff and do a lot of deviations from the original story without, I guess, necessarily direct repercussions of that. And on top of that, probably the biggest freaking like jaw drop moment for me, at least, being a big ass fan of Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, is that they basically showed a timeline, or at least my interpretation, a timeline where basically, which is really fucking cool too, man. Because I have to say, if you are like just a fan of Final Fantasy VII overall, in terms of the related material, backstory stuff like Crisis Core, Avon Children, which I found out actually has a lot of references to this game too. Man, you got a lot of fan service, which wasn't like, like a lot of people that do fan service, like, hey, well, here you go, fan service. All right, you happy now? It was more tasteful and subtle, where it's like, hey, if you did do that, you picked up on it. If you didn't, it wasn't a big deal, which I always appreciate as well. But man, so one aspect of it after you defeat Sephiroth and the Harbinger of Fate is that I forgot how it came to be, but you in order to fight Sephiroth, you went into this I guess abyss, which I guess is some time anomaly, if anything. And after you beat Sephiroth, Cloud attempts to do it seems like it felt like a 1-for-1 of the last scene of Final Fantasy VII, where Sephiroth just cuts the shit out of, Cloud cuts the shit out of Sephiroth, and with the Omni Slash attack. But apparently Sephiroth was hip today, like, no, not this time. But yeah, I was surprised at a lot of the direct callbacks they made to the ending of Final Fantasy VII, the original as a whole, which is very interesting. But kind of leads to a lot of speculation of how things are going to play out towards the next one or whatever. But getting back to that fan service. So basically, for Crisis Core, if you aren't familiar, and it obviously was touched on in the original Final Fantasy VII. So I guess spoilers for that if you haven't played a game that's 20 years old. Basically, as you find out through the story, Cloud actually isn't a first class soldier, but he actually was just a general, I guess soldier or grunt, or maybe third class, second class, if anything. And actually, he's basically mixed his memories, jarbled them up with Zach Fair, who's actually somewhat the role model that Cloud kind of based his whole being essence off of, technically, including the Buster Sword, which was originally Zach. So knowing that, basically it basically like recreates the whole ending scene from Crisis Core, which is fucking immense and weighty, and still got me because I replayed it before actually playing Remake, and Jesus, it still gets you, man. Still gets you. Just the power, just how they just did it, just all together is just so powerful and meaningful and just effective. But either way, they did it. They pretty much did a lot of it one for one. If you like put them side by side, they just did pretty much everything. But now in like HD, which is, well, it was just great for me as a fan. But so you kind of know how it all plays out basically if you play that game. And Final Fantasy VII, they kill Zack, and that's technically how Cloud comes to be. So knowing that, you're like, oh, okay, damn, it's gonna suck. They're gonna do it. Then a part of me started thinking like, maybe he's gonna live. Maybe they're somehow, some way gonna do it different. And boy, I was very surprised they actually kind of did that. To a loose extent, but basically they kind of showed him. I don't think they showed him dying in this one. I think they did. He was like on the ground, but he wasn't as like bloody or just messed up as he was in Crisis Core. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that exists still, but basically in terms of after the events of killing the Harbinger of Fate, they showed what seems to be just some alternate timeline or just some rift in reality or interdimensional space time continuum type shit, whatever. But they did show like in full effect of a timeline that, Zach was like, oh, is everybody dead? I did it or whatever. So basically he's kind of like, being surprised and like taken back, like he actually did fuck up like 75 soldiers and still is living. And then it shows him carrying Cloud all the way to Midgar to who knows what. And while they're doing that, they're showing this weird synergy type interdimensional kind of crossroads type thing where they show Zack carrying Cloud as well as Aerith and Cloud like walking the opposite way. And then the biggest freaking like, okay, so this is definitely some confirmation of anything. They showed like there's this pretty consistent iconography of this I guess figure mascot. I think it's a representative to some extent of Shinra, I believe, but also is a double form of iconography for Avalanche to some extent, called Stamp, who's basically this dog that has like I think a couple stars and stuff. Basically just, I believe, at least the impression I got, he was like a mascot for Shinra to some loose extent. But basically Stamp looks like I guess a beagle, if anything, as in terms of dog. But then in the same scene where Zack is carrying Cloud to safety, you see a straight up bag flying, obviously in your vision, that shows, and they slowed it down on top of that, so they definitely wanted you to pick up on it. They showed it with basically the same Stamp, but he had a hat instead like of an army helmet, and he looked like a terrier instead of a beagle. So it's like, okay, it's pretty apparent that this is an alternate timeline, and then that was it. They're like, okay, all right, well, then that was it. So it's like, what, what? And that's definitely what I was like initially. I'm like, what? That was for sure my reaction after that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, I definitely had to take some time to really think about that because man, that was some weight. That was some weight. But I loved it. I loved it. At least my impression. And I know like everybody's just having their own, and it's a lot is left up for interpretation, obviously. But boy, at least personally, at least what I got from that is that they're in some way, shape, or form really gonna acknowledge these two alternate timelines, or there's maybe potentially gonna be some crossover that like kind of would be very fan servicey for a fan of Crisis Core, having Zack kind of actually meet Cloud in real time or like in the current timeline, or their timelines cross somehow, and like there's just gonna be some weird cool like camaraderie, like familiarity, like catching up, like hey, what's up, Cloud? I mean, yeah, man, I died protecting you, or some mess like that. I don't know, but at least that's kind of the impression I got, is that somehow, some way that maybe Zack might come in as a bigger plot point, if anything, or what would be a dream for me personally is like a playable character, maybe. Um, that just that was just great. And considering that he's technically dead in Cloud's timeline, but there's a different timeline that somehow, some way they might mesh or come together, or who knows what. But man, just the thought of that was pretty cool. Considering how great of a character I really thought he was in Crisis Core, and how they kind of made him to be, and see kind of that contrast with Cloud, even though he interacted with Cloud in that game before the events that happened in Final Fantasy VII originally, just to see maybe if the conversation they would have after kind of all this transpired, seeing how Cloud has kind of grown into the person he is, and being that he's essentially in essence taken from Zack in a lot of ways, just to see kind of that dynamic play out would I think would be really cool, and kind of a nice way to think about the game. And then on top of that, just kind of what this insinuates as a whole is like, it definitely, at least for me, gave me the impression that like, okay, they're not gonna do the same thing over again with part 2 or whatever, how they're gonna handle the next one, because Jesus, like, how do you, yeah. So, and then on they also, one factor was that they, in particular with, I think, Red 13 and Aerith, where throughout the game they did show a lot of flashbacks to, I think, Advent Children as well as the original Final Fantasy. In particular, they showed the one scene where Red 13 and his kids, I believe, are running into this world without basically humans. So basically, there was a lot of terminology that said like, if we don't kill the harbingers of fate, our planet is ultimately destined for doom. Basically, if we don't go against this, and essentially after they defeat freaking the harbingers of fate, it basically just killed the expectations, and like I guess well, yeah, basically that the expectations of fans wanting a 1-for-1 remake. So it's like, all right, so now everything is technically off the cuff. So now like we technically don't know what they could do the next game, and now the next game is kind of like a sequel, but at the same time I don't think they're gonna do that. I'm pretty sure they're still gonna hit a lot of the main story beats of the original, but with understandable deviation here and there, which I think is just freaking ingenious in terms of like, one, as a fan of Final Fantasy 7 and, you know, a fan of this being remade, but just now it's like, even for fans of Final Fantasy 7 that have played and have a reference point of the original game, it feels like you get this impression like we don't even know what to expect now for like the next game. And, you know, it's like now I'm starting to suspect, like, are they actually gonna kill Aerith? I don't even think they might deviate from that, or maybe give you some choice. But just that thought now that like everything is technically kind of fresh and new, and like you don't really know what to expect, which you kind of do have that in the back of your head when you're playing a remake, like just thinking like, okay, I already know what's going to happen, but I'm curious how they're going to do it now. But now it's like anything could happen, and I don't know how, the cadence of anything, you know. So that's that is just really cool. So it's like, it's kind of like a sequel, but it's still a remake, which is just, I don't know, just the thought of that is like so cool. It's like mashing both types of things that you want from Final Fantasy together. So it's like you have kind of like somewhat of Back to the Future to Back to Final Fantasy 7, but it's a sequel. So it's like it's a continuation of Final Fantasy 7. It's just genius to me that like it's nothing I've necessarily seen or been exposed to, in particular with video games, which I find just very fascinating and very, very interested and invested to see how they're gonna handle the next continuation of this game, whatever that's gonna be. And it just gave you like a whole spin on the meaning of remake. Now it's like it's technically not really remake by the term, but somewhat of a sequel, but the kind of main plot theme is remake, which is basically remaking Final Fantasy 7 as a whole. Just thinking about it, it's brilliant. It's like some straight genius levels of like story telling and implementation that they must have had in mind to some extent. I know a lot of people are like saying like, yeah, I don't think Nomura, who I guess has been like notable for Kingdom Hearts and stuff, is capable of thinking this I guess complex, but I don't know, man. This felt very planned and thought out after all was said and done. Goodness, it just it was really great. I really love the ending, and I understand there's gonna be a lot of freaking like hateful angry fans of the game that are like gonna be like, this is some BS, this is not my remake. But at the same time, it's like they really did do a lot of stuff traditionally with the main game for Midgar and stuff. So I think they did a really good job and balance. As a fan of Final Fantasy 7, I think they did really good a job of fleshing out a lot of the characters, especially like Avalanche, Biggs, Jesse, and Wedge. They feel way more fully realized and just like, you know, grounded characters rather than just like plot devices that like, you know, are gonna go at some point. You know, they just felt really, really justified, and like man, these guys are really cool, man. I like their personality and stuff, you know, which you didn't necessarily get that as much from the original, but you know, they were still cool either way. But and then those implications now, like that Wedge might be alive, Biggs might be alive, potentially Jesse might be alive, but then it's like, is that in this timeline or an alternate timeline? Are those timelines going to cross now with this event that happened? So now we're maybe going to get some like crossover to some extent. And you know, I was listening to Easy Allies and their awesome ass like spoiler talk, and man, it I thought I knew something, but boy, I was like super fucking enlightened now that just the potential of what could be done. But you know, the one particular thing they touched on was basically Jessie, how she hinted at a lot, or it was very apparent that she wanted to work at Gold Saucer, which obviously, technically, at least in terms of the plot line for Final Fantasy VII, is more than likely going to be in the next game. That, you know, might see her, but she may not know us as characters, because maybe she's an alternate version of Jessie that isn't from our timeline, that has experienced the events of this game, which is just crazy. Just the potential of what they can like do and mess with this game, and on top of that, play with your expectations, but at the same time, like not. But just the fact that you think that they could, it's like adds a whole new freshness on top of just remaking a lot of the, you know, places you knew and love. Man, it's so much they could do now. So I guess a lot of this excitement and I guess just fervor in terms of this game is definitely going to be contingent on how well the sequel to this goes, and what that actually is. Because yeah, they technically could ignore all of this, all of our, you know, suspicions, theories and stuff, but if they do like follow through on it, man, especially to the scale of this game, it's just gonna be freaking great and valid. And I think I touched on this before, but I freaking totally understand, man, why they had to break this into parts, because just the ambition that you feel with this game is just great. That like they fully were, you know, fleshing out a lot of things that they didn't get the opportunity to flesh out before, and just really make this feel more concise and just polished as hell, and like, you know, a game of this era and you know, time period, compared to, you know, 97. So this was a great game, man. Still just thinking about it. I still have yet to do my hard playthrough. You might have seen me on Twitch, where I have been streaming the struggle the struggle of finishing up the combat simulator missions, which was, yeah, was tough to say the least, but I got through it. I did it. So now I'm ready to start going through a hard mode. So may do that today, may do it tomorrow, who knows. That's definitely gonna happen. I've been hearing stuff now that like enemies are actually totally different in terms of attacks now, and definitely variables and stuff like that. This is gonna be great. And then on top of that, you get freaking 3-time gil and AP points to upgrade your materia and stuff. It's a done deal. It's a given. Especially a lot of the plot points and stuff that they hit on, I think that you didn't know until after the game is over. Now it's going to be very interesting, especially kind of how the story pans out, how to pick up on a lot of the story things, knowing how it ends now, which specifically for this game definitely I think is definitely warrants another playthrough, for sure, which I'm definitely going to do. Yeah, and I pretty much got all the damn trophies now. Been grinding on those. And yeah, man, word of freaking warning for freaking chapter 9, man. Try to do as much as you can in the multiple playthroughs that you will have to do if you want to get all the trophies for that, because Jesus. I ranted about it on Twitter a bit, but I literally spent my whole day trying to get all these achievements, but you have to freaking because there's chapter select after you beat the game, which I want to say I talked about, but you have to freaking start from the chapter and then get all the way to the point, at least in particular for chapter 9, I guess, since we are in spoiler territory. So in chapter 9, basically your Aerith is escorting you back to sector 7, I believe, and you have to basically kind of finagle your way to do that. So basically you have to go through the underground highway, I think that's what it's called, basically that whole section, which is a whole segment, and then you have that freaking pain in the ass annoyance, like why is this in the damn game element, which is the robotic hand that you is just so like felt so like slow, archaic, and just like intentionally artificial, just to lengthen the game. That like after playing it like after the 2010th time, you're like, yeah, this is getting really boring. Thankfully the music was just great and the combat is good, so that kind of had me stringle on along a bit. But that just the word of warning, try to maximize and minimize as many playthroughs as you have to do with that, because there's one I'm trying to just save some people some time in life. There's one in particular where you have to which I totally didn't know until after diving through the trophies, that basically there's two branching sub-story plot lines or side quest plot lines. So you basically cut yourself off from one if you do a particular set of actions, which I don't think I'd ever would think to do in like, I guess, sequence. Basically, if you don't do it in particular sequence, you can't trigger that line of side quests. And then basically, if you do that particular line of side quest, like I said, you'll be cut off from the other one. So you can't do both in one playthrough. So you are forced to do two playthroughs of at least chapter 9 to get those side quests, and in turn get the completed all side quests trophy, which I was curious after the fact. I was like, why didn't I get it? And now I found out why, is that I was doing one set which was easier than other, and the other one was just like straight, like you had to look that up. I don't think there was any way you could like kind of formulate, and the game didn't necessarily give you hints to do it, so you actually go on that path if you had the option to. I think that was very intentional, to where you would do maybe a couple additional playthroughs at the very least without, looking it up or something. But yeah, I would have never guessed it or figured it out for sure. So there was that. Then there's if you want to do all the Coliseum matches, you have to do it with Aerith at that chapter, because otherwise she'll leave your party in further chapters and you can't go back until, well, you can't even go back with Aerith. So that's one point where you're kind of fucked if you didn't do that. And then there were some mini games in particular. I think the trophy was called Sultan of Squat, where you basically beat in the gym, kind of a reference to the original games, where you do a squat challenge with Jules, I think he's called, the head trainer there. So if you don't even do that quest, then you're kind of locked out of that, because after, I think, chapter 15, you come back, and then but then you do it with Aerith, which is a completely different challenge, and you don't have the option to do it with Cloud, which is that I kind of had an issue with, because like it just didn't make sense. You should still be able to do it, but I guess it's kind of how their layout works with the chapters and how they maybe organized it. But I digress. I mean, yeah, it was so that was it. And then this was probably the most painful of all. It was a trophy where you had to get like multiple dresses for Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, which technically forced you to do 3 playthroughs of the game. But Jesus, if you had to do that, you'd be like locked to like what, 15 hours each playthrough alone if you were to do the conventional way. But there was at least how to do it properly or efficiently enough. Basically, you have to start at chapter 3 and then play, do all the side quests. That's the requirement to even talk to Tifa, to unlock the option to select a different outfit choice for her. And then on top of that, you have to complete the chapter for it to even register. Because if you do that, talk to Tifa, and then quit out, then it registers it as in the next chapter. It doesn't register what you did if you skip the next chapter without completing it, which I found that pretty annoying. On top of the, not having the option to like have a more granular system, which I kind of ranted about as well on Twitter, about like not being able like to maybe do like on a midpoint of the chapter or objectives, like maybe kind of chapter select that way, but no, you're basically kind of screwed there. So basically you have to do all the in one particular playthrough, at least you have to do all the chapters for chapter 3, complete it, and then select your proper choice for Tifa. I think you had options like what do you think I look good in a dress in? I think exotic, sporty, and mature. And so one playthrough you have to do that, do all the side quests. Another playthrough you have to do, I think, exactly like 3 side quests, no more nor less, or I think you might still get the option you were looking for, but maybe not, which I'm glad I didn't try to practice and find out, because that would have just been more time I did not want to spend. So there's that. And then there's one for just not doing any side quests at all, which obviously is the easier one, but you have to do the other ones first. So then you have to do that, and then you have to skip to chapter 8, I think 8, and then do the same thing with Aerith, where you do again all side quests, 3 side quests, or no side quests, 3 playthroughs maximum or minimum if anything. And then on top of that, in chapter 9, you have to technically do the same thing, all 3 chapters, half of the chapters, and like no chapters as well, to get the various dress options as well. So all that all together, you're looking at a lot of damn playtime. And then if you fuck up on one and don't damn it, I did more than I need to. Now I got this dress I didn't want to get. Fuck. Which sounds kind of dumb coming from me. Like, oh, damn it, I didn't want. Damn it, Aerith, I didn't want the red dress. I wanted the pink one. Shit. The hell, But either way, yeah, that I found kind of just annoyingly artificially just a barrier to add more time to you playing the game, which I didn't need to be there, if anything. Hopefully they patch it in a down the road would be great, but at least as of now, it's kind of what you're facing up with. But all in all, completed that and did all the miscellaneous other trophies and stuff, which I think for this game was really, really generous. At least considering how Final Fantasy games have been in the past, especially with like how tedious and like probably like just ancient trying to do a lot of the stuff in Final Fantasy 7 is now, like the Chocobo racing to try to get nice at around and stuff. I'd say this is pretty generous considering that. So I had a good time, at least trying to get them in. Definitely pointed me in the direction to do a lot of stuff I wouldn't do, which is definitely what I always do appreciate with a good set of achievements, and not just kind of not thought out achievements that don't really add to any, I guess, replayability to the game, which I'd say this definitely did in a lot of facets. Just a couple minor annoyances in terms of just how it was done to kind of be more friendly to the player in terms of their time. So all in all, though, yeah, man, thoroughly enjoying it. I think I'm like so far 70 hours in, and that isn't even like playing on hard as of yet. So pretty sure it's gonna be more efficient now. I thought you could do the manuscripts, but you have to do the side quests too to get those. But I don't think there's an achievement tied to those. So technically I could just critical path hard mode and then get the trophy that way. So that's more than likely what I'm probably gonna do. And then I don't know, probably looking it up or something like that. But at least getting back to the spoilers, man. Yeah, very, 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 very satisfied with the ending. I do feel bad. I really do feel bad for people that haven't played Final Fantasy VII because, yeah, that ending is gonna just confuse the fuck out of you. It really is. If you're gonna have no idea what's going on. I guess you'll kind of get the same responses as you would of playing the original for the first time, but yeah, it's gonna confuse the hell out of people that haven't played 7. But I think that's kind of a good side of it, is that it will encourage you to play the original, which is, you know, definitely widely available on the PS4, with a lot of, mind you, a lot of very great like quality of life improvements. Like you can skip random encounters, you can speed the game up, and you can put yourself in God mode. So you can basically, you have all the tools, and on top of that, you get the achievements for that if you use those tools if need be. So yeah, they're definitely setting a lot of stuff up for, you know, being able to get through that game pretty smoothly, if anything. So definitely, I do recommend it if you haven't tried out at least Final Fantasy VII original. Definitely recommend it. It definitely justified its stance as one of the best games of all time. It's for sure, hands down, one of my favorite RPGs of all time. I definitely can confidently say that. Given I haven't played any other Final Fantasy VIIs, maybe not to the extent where like, oh yeah, this is the best. It can't get no better than that. No. But yeah, I definitely do plan to play other Final Fantasy VIIs. Probably my next one, if anything. More than likely is going to be 6. I heard a lot of good things about 6, and I missed the boat on that completely. So that might be on my radar, if anything. But yeah. Now I want to rewatch Advent Children. Even though I watched it a long time ago, I still want to refresh my memory. I heard it's not that good. But you know, I had these Final Fantasy VII fan tinted glasses on, so I may be very biased. I thought, at least I remembered it being really cool in terms of just the fights and stuff, but I guess I maybe didn't pay attention, or just in my head just wrote stuff off as, man, this is Final Fantasy VII movie, a continuation of the original. Yeah, I'm in, you know. So this game was great. It really was. It delivered. It surpassed my expectations for sure. I'll say that. It really did. Really did. Really did. Very, very satisfied. Very, very satisfied with this game for sure. Yeah, I'm just like in shock, just kind of reflecting on just the greatness that did happen with that game. Yeah, overall, I definitely recommend it, especially for newcomers who never played the original. I think this is definitely a great entry point in terms of playing it. I can't stop gushing over it, but man, it's like nothing even matters now. Nothing else matters now. But yeah, definitely the anticipation now increases for the next one. Yeah, I guess moving on to other stuff outside of games I've been messing with. I actually saw this movie on Netflix, Train to Busan, which man, it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I was like, you know, I'm a big fan of Philip DeFranco on YouTube. I haven't watched him in terms of news and stuff. He just kept recommending this movie. I'm like, you know what? Nothing really is interesting me on YouTube right now. Let me go ahead and watch this movie. Let me take his word for it. Let me try it out. And I was very pleased. It was very just traditional, great movie. I don't want to spoil the movie to any extent, because I think that's a lot of the appeal of it. But yeah, I was very satisfied with the movie. pretty great plot and basis overall. I do recommend it, especially if you're a fan of a particular creature that has been pretty established in media. Take that for what you will. Take that for what you will. Also, especially considering the current times we're in, I've been finding having some more time to do a lot of stuff I actually want. In particular, starting to catch up on some Netflix shows. And in particular of that, actually started. Everybody's been talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, but yeah, all right. So I finally got the gumption and started watching The Office, and I am very, very pleased so far. This show had me freaking cracking up, man, like losing it. Just how freaking, just damn reckless and like, ignorant and like just obnoxious Steve Carell is, man. Man, just him as the main character. Of course, all the interactions are just total cringy, just annoying boss that probably everybody's maybe had it to some extent. It just hits home so well. He's the perfect, just horrible boss in a lot of facets, which is just great to see. And I'm loving the show so far. So I'm on season 3, I believe. I think coming on season 4. So that's been pretty great. Yeah, man, loving that show. But outside of that, that's pretty much what all I've been up to. Yeah, I think that's pretty much been it. I guess real quick, I've been messing with. I know I talked about a couple episodes ago. I've been messing with my NAS. I've been actually getting the capacity, so now I've been trying to upgrade that. So I totally didn't know that you can actually get like a card add-on that you attach to your NAS that basically expands the slots for SATA drives that you can connect. And so far, it totally works really well. But I found out that now I have to freaking because of this. How I set up my NAS, where it's like a mirror system, where if like one drive fails, it'll mitigate the data loss, where it'll be somewhat recoverable to some extent on another disk, basically. So I thought I could get away with one, but obviously for that technique, you need a duplicate of your drive. So now I'm kind of like SOL in that respect. So now I, at some point, have to figure that out. But all in all, it'll work itself out some way. But yeah, I think that'll do it for episode 52 of Switches Sites. If you are listening to this podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, definitely feel free to like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff, good or bad. Any feedback is appreciated. If you have any questions you'd like to submit to the show, you can submit them at aswitchtv@gmail.com. If I get enough, I'll potentially start reading them as a segment on the show. Of course, you can catch me on Twitch TV/aswitch, where I do host this podcast live or record it live. And I eventually load it up to youtube.com/aswitch as well, for your archival satisfaction. Not sure if that's a thing, but hey, whatever floats your boat. If you get turned on by archives, I mean, it's got to be somebody out there. There's always somebody for something weird like that, but I digress. What else? Oh yeah, you could also catch me on twitter.com at aswitch, where I just retweet dumb shit and ignorant black Twitter and video gaming and stuff, which is somewhat of a niche, I guess, kind of pocket. But I mean, hey, if you into that stuff, hey, I might be your man or not. But you know what? The option's up to you, Yeah. I think that's enough pimping I've been doing. Gotta keep it strong. I don't. Yeah, that's the thing now. No, well, with the pandemic, it's not really anymore. But, I shouldn't have laughed at that as hard, but hey. Also been uploading a lot of Resident Evil stuff. Some of my back catalog of videos I never got a chance to upload. I'm actually glad I've been doing that now, so you can, I think recently uploaded Resident Evil Code Veronica, which, man, in retrospect, that playthrough was hilarious for me. I was a little loopy and then just tripping on a lot of stuff, but I'd say of anything that I recall that being very entertaining for myself, because man, that a lot of that was just stupid and funny at the same time, and fun. So I recall having a good time with that playthrough in particular. I think that is it. I believe. Yeah. Till next time, guys. Get your game on. Oh yeah.